Hi, welcome to Health and Mind. My name is Salvador, and in this video, what we're going to be talking about is how not to tend to your relationships. Originally, I was going to title it How to Tend to Your Relationships, but as I listened to the video, I was like, okay, well, I'm just basically talking about everything not to do, so I figured I'd title it that. This is my fourth time recording it because the audio keeps cutting out, so I'm praying to God that this audio doesn't just stop recording this time. But if you're seeing this, obviously the audio didn't stop recording. So anyways, like I said, I'm going to be talking about how not to tend to the relationships that you have in your life, whether that be with the people around you, your family, your friends, a new significant other, a business, your relationship with your job, stuff like that, how not to tend to those. So yeah, let's just go ahead and get right into it. And I hope you guys enjoy this kind of type of video where I don't do that many cuts. But yeah, so how not to tend to your relationships. This is something that I have learned a lot, especially from, unfortunately, personal experience. But what better way to gain experience from something than experiencing it yourself? But I'd like to explain my experiences with this so that hopefully I can prevent it in anybody else that is watching. But I'm going to be using a lot of metaphors, so just bear with me if that's something that you find difficult or annoying. I'm going to be using metaphors in this. But the way that I have been seeing things is that the relationships that you have in your life, those are plants. The collection of all these different relationships that you have is your garden, and then the effort that you put in order to make these relationships grow or these plants grow is your water. And everybody has a limited amount of water, but how you choose to use it is up to whoever's watering the plants, which would be you. But yeah, so those are the metaphors I'm really going to be using in this video. So every person has a garden, and whether that be a really small garden or that be a really big garden, everybody has all the plants in their life, the people that they have around them, whether that be they're closer to their family, they're closer to friends that they have. Everyone has those plants, and some plants are bigger than others. They're trees, or that have like fruit on them, or they're just really big plants that have been watered over a long period of time, so they're very much developed and grown. And then you have like smaller plants and newer plants, but nevertheless, you have plants in your garden of varying importance and age even. But what can happen very quickly, and I've seen this again, especially in myself, but in a lot of other people too, is that when they get a really interesting new seed, which is something that grows into a plant, usually in the form of a new romantic relationship, but can happen with any kind of relationship that you have in your life. When you see the possibilities of the seed, the potential of it, you can be completely like overwhelmed by it and hyperfixate on the seed rather than the rest of the plants that you already have in your garden. And it can be very difficult to take your eyes off of it, especially when it's something that's really new and exciting and is just, you see so much potential good coming from it. Like you think something, like all these different things could happen, or you may even like know something could happen, like it grow into like the best relationship that you have in your life. And that excitement and everything like that, like all the feelings of, I'm connecting so great with this person or whatever, or I really want to make sure that this works out, can cause you to, again, hyperfixate on the seed, which isn't even a plant yet, and cause you to stop watering the rest of your plants like you were before. Some plants have really deep roots, and you don't have to water them as much. But some plants, even some really old plants that you've had for a really long time and are really developed, they can still start to suffer when you stop watering them, and they will suffer. Plants, when they don't get water, they start to suffer. So when you turn your back on the rest of your garden in order to water this one seed, and you're just pouring all your water on it, not only can you suffocate and drown this seed potentially, but you're also taking away all that effort and energy that you had previously put into these relationships that you tended to and cared about so much. And it's a really dangerous thing to do, because not only are you basically like putting all the chips in, because if things don't go right and you're only focused on this one seed and the relationship ends or it doesn't work out, or you just, like, something happens and you're not friends with this person anymore, or whatever, your opportunity, if it's business wise, doesn't work out, and you put everything that you had into this one seed, and then the plants that you already had you turn your back to, well, then when you turn back around, you're like, oh my gosh, my garden, like all the seeds or all the plants that I have are like wilting and dying. If not, some of them have already died. And unfortunately, people are unlike plants in the sense that they have thoughts and feelings and memory, and they can let the plant die. There's people that if you stop watering it, they'll be watching you and notice, oh, okay, so you're going to turn your back on the relationship that we had in order to water this one plant, or in order to fulfill this new relationship, and completely neglect the entire relationship that we had. Got it. So I'm done. I'm not going to be friends with you anymore, or, I'm just going to let the plant die. And then at that point, when you turn back around, it's too late. And there's nothing you can do. You can replace a plant, but that it's not going to be the same plant that you had before. So it's really important not to get so sucked into watering this seed that you start to let your other plants suffer. Because again, people have feelings, they have emotions and thoughts, and when you have connections with people and you just start to cut them off, even if it's unintentionally, people notice that and people feel that. And it can cause a lot of distress on those people, because it can make them feel like you don't really care about them as much as they may have thought you did. And even if you do care, like, to a certain extent, that, like, your actions aren't really proving that. So it can make those relationships start to wilt and die, and some people will just want them to die because of what you did. And it's very risky, especially with the fact that if you decide to put all your effort into this new relationship and it doesn't work out, not only are you losing all this hope on this amazing plant that you just like really anticipated growing, you're losing that, and then all the other ones that you had before that previously, you're losing those too, some of those relationships. And then it's like a really big loss to you and the people on the receiving end. And it can just cause a lot of issues. So I just like to touch on that because I've seen it with other people where they start to distance themselves, especially when they get into a new romantic relationship, and distance themselves from their friends and family and stuff like that because they really love this person or whatever. And it's really sad to see them neglect their close friends, their other friends that they previously cared so much about, and they maybe still do care about deep down, but they don't realize until it's too late that they're neglecting these other plants. But yeah, just it's really important to keep in mind that it's okay to water certain plants more than others. Some of them require more water. Even the seed requires a certain amount of water at first, but there's such thing as overwatering, and every person only has 100%, and that 100% being the water that they have. And it's best to try and spread that out as much as possible so that you're not losing everything when one of the plants could die. Like if you're putting all your water into one plant and then you let the rest of them die and then that one dies, it's like, oh great, you lost everything. So it's important not to put all your energy and efforts into one single relationship. If that's the only relationship that you have, being close to someone, then that's one thing. But if you have other people you care about and stuff, it's really important to be balanced enough to tend to those other relationships. Some plants require more water and more frequently to be watered, and some of them don't in order to be maintained. People that you know are your best friends, where you don't have to talk to them for a period of time, and then you'll just, as soon as you talk again, it's like back to normal, like literally nothing changed. That's a little bit different. Those plants don't require as much water versus ones that you may have been fostering over like a shorter amount of time. But nonetheless, that is just my thoughts into how not to tend to your relationships or your garden, because it's important to think about the effect of what your focus is on people and the effect that it has on those other people, not just one person, but all of them. Because if you have a lot of people that are close to you, it can affect a lot of people if you stop being close with all of them. So that's pretty much it, but I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of video. Definitely be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more of this kind of content, and comment if you have any questions or concerns. I don't know why you'd have any concerns about this, but if you have any suggestions on future videos or have any questions, be sure to ask those below. But that's about it. So thank you for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video.